Manhood, brought to you in part by Solomon's Bespoke. Manhood, brought to you in part by Reboot Sports Drink.
Welcome here to another conversation here on Manhood. Today's topic, we're going to get right into it. Men and monogamy. Is that an oxymoron? That's what we're here to discuss here today. So to my right, Johanse Ayodike, behavior change consultant. To his right, the one and only Mr. King. You know him more popularly for the recently, I would say the acclaimed track that has come out called The Call. And to his right, Niall McNish, Vibes God. So we're getting straight into it, guys. Men and monogamy. Is that just one of those, is there such a word called oxymoronic, or is it quasi-moronic, whatever the term is?
Well, firstly, I've heard the question, are men naturally monogamous, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just throw out the statement first, and then we'll start to discuss. So I would say, I don't think men are naturally monogamous. Most times it's a choice. When you choose to be with one woman, you choose to be with one partner, but a lot of times that's not how you really want it. Yeah, you have to make sure and ignore this person and ignore this person and ignore this person. But I would say men are maybe not naturally monogamous, but monogamy is a choice. So I started with that.
So just to say that, just to touch on what you said there, I've in doing some research, you see, again, we always say we're not speaking on behalf of all men. But in the research that was done for this particular topic, because it is a very intriguing topic, and you can speak for yourself initially, like how do I feel about situations, and in certain cases when you get the information, they always say what you look for is what you see, right? So if I feel a particular way, I'm going to find things on Google, etc., that suit what I'm looking for, particularly to my liking. And I generally would take your point that I don't think that men are naturally monogamous. However, looking at a lot of research, they say that biologically, you are set up, the human body biologically is set up and is more inclined to be monogamous. What happens is we are mentally and we are more inclined to want to sleep around, the urge to sleep around. So it's not a biological makeup. It's just we are more inclined to then want to sleep around. That could be for all sorts of reasons, whether it be societal influences, for certain levels, insecurity, porn, you're thirsty, all these different types of things. But the argument really started because people say, yeah, but if you want to do a test, people are between 60 million and 120 million sperm count. So what do you have that for? And that comes down to biology. Biology is the survival of the fittest. It's how you fertilize the egg, the embryo, make it the zygote, etc. So it's nothing to do with the reason you have all that sperm is because you have to procreate, spread your seed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What you're saying is a good point because research has shown when a man makes a child, right, and gets married, his testosterone level naturally goes down.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess if we're saying biologically that we're supposed to be monogamous, in that sense, why your testosterone would go down when you make a child is because you wouldn't feel to go with somebody else. Okay, I could work with that.
Well, I don't know if it's by they feel. I mean, biologically, like if you speak one, and again, I'm no doctor, but a lot of that release, and I think we've discussed this in another episode, is that your body is naturally adapting to the fact that if you are ejaculating, spreading your seed all over the place, your body doesn't have to go into any sort of survival mode. It's becoming almost lazy in that sense. And again, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to continue along that thought because I don't have the data to support it. But I do when I listen to it.
So based on what I'm hearing just now is that let's just say someone who has a porn addiction, right? Real seed busting.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
If
becoming weaker.
You're becoming weak as in less testosterone, is that what weakness is in that situation? And that happening because there's no need for me to hunt for a mate, and hence the lack of hunting is where the dipping into testosterone. That's the linear thought, right?
The more celibate you are, the more potent and again, I would like to put
You're really interested now. Like, you understand? So
I would think that it all boils down to the individual. You know, they say different strokes for different folks. I think it's a mental thing because there are men I know that comfortable with one woman. You know, it all boils down to probably childhood experiences, societal influences. You know, it all boils down to the individual and their mind. You know, there are men that can and do it, you know, and then it's the same for women. There are women that will decide, well, look, I good with this man. And then there are women will decide, I good with this man and his partner. You know, so I think it all boils down to the individual because we're not primitive. It's not back in the days where we cavemen and, you know, I think we have developed since then and it all boils down to choice in my head.
So, King, you said something that I wanted to elaborate with regards to we're not primitive. So is it that you're saying that the Neanderthal part of us of wanting to go and spread our seed so it's that somebody that's promiscuous or in this case or polygamous, does that mean that they're less developed in terms of maturity or is that where you're going with that?
Well, when I say maturity, I think that we look around and we see the way society is going. You know, and I think this should add in some way to your mindset where promiscuity is concerned. I mean, the fact of diseases, the fact of fatherless children, broken homes. You know, I think as a responsible individual, it wouldn't be wise to go down that road. You know, so there's where I think the development comes in. You're not primitive. You're aware of what is going on in society. So I think it would be wise to make the choice, you know?
But we already know that most men are wise. Most of us not wise.
Well, some will be wise and some otherwise.
Or some. So I like that. But some wiser than others. But I feel like to err is human and a lot of men, like, as you mentioned, I don't like the word use of Neanderthal, by the way. You know, it's hard to just stick that pin. But
well, that's your choice. We're on the show.
Fair enough.
I not like it, but I'm using it.
Right? But back in the day, and I'm talking about biblical times, it has always been multiple wives. If you talk about the tribesmen in the motherland, there always been multiple wives. So my question is was that from innately a man thing, or was it just due to resources and me being able, and by me meaning a man in those times being able to protect? This is the amount of protection I could provide, and by extension, this is how much I could assist the tribe in taking on these wives and taking on these children, because women outnumber men. That's a fact, right? So if just off of the numbers, that means
globally they outnumber, but not depends on the country.
Well,
overall.
Well, all right. Let's just go overall. We go in Trinidad. We're talking as men in Trinidad and Tobago, right? Women outnumber men greatly, actually, right? So that means if every man was to get with one girl, it have at least a huge percentage of women who not getting any man at all. They are doomed and destined to be single and lonely forever, just off the numbers. Is that what we're saying?
Well, I don't know. I don't have that data. I mean, but if
just off the stats.
If what you're saying is accurate in terms of the stats, and I mean, and guys, you know, we put in a disclaimer there.
Right.
You know, if the stats are indeed accurate, then you are quite right.
No, but we can't have a discussion like if the stats are accurate. We already know. Okay. We don't have to be scientists to know that women outnumber men. Yeah. I think that's a.
I mean, we could put up a phone and look, but when you're looking just women outnumber men, remember, they start to rank women at age 18, right? All the way up to 60s, 70s old. So to say women outnumber men in just the purest terms may not be accurate, because if a 30-year-old man might be looking for a 60-something-year-old woman, but if the number, so for men who want to marry, if you understand what I'm
following,
right? So saying that blanket may not entirely be true, but I just want to say what you're saying about choice, and then you're talking about the Bible, right? Doing some research on this, I saw...
That's Old Testament.
Okay.
I saw that a lot of where it was monogamy, polyamory, polygamy was also based on the type of society and what was necessary for survival of the society.
Societal influence.
Okay.
Right? So as you were saying, back in the day, if one man could have taken care of 10 women, I'll just give an example, then he should, because that would continue the tribe.
Correct.
And then I was what I read is that I think in coming down to I think it was in 19th century, closer to modern day time, what they realized is it caused a lot of conflict, right? When you have more than one woman, and it was destabilizing the family system.
When you say they,
This was in Roman civilization.
Okay.
So early Catholicism, etc., when they started introducing monogamy.
all right.
Right. So one of the reasons was to create or decrease conflict within
Within the family home.
Within the family. So if a man had more than one woman, you would see fighting among the women, or sometimes this person would treat the stepchildren in a poor manner. So it was neater, like you call it that way, neater to have one man with one woman, and that's what they encourage.
So eventually, what we're saying is over time, and in terms of culture and society, and as you know, it depends on the environment you're in and the country, where that's a norm, or other religions, it's a norm, and you those things are not women with a culture and raised to accept that, right? And if you're raised in a different environment, then to you that's wrong. So we're looking at the difference in right and wrong is simply where you grow up.
But we can't say that because remember, a patriarchal society
I
would
like
have.
when you say I can't say it because I said
Well, again. Well, I would. My rebuttal to that
Right.
would be, men made the rules. So right and wrong in a situation like that women would have to adhere to was made within a patriarchal society. So a man could easily say who in charge, because we're the ones that fight wars. Hey, I want all my women to be home by a certain time. I don't want you outside without a man there. I want you to be doing X, Y, Z. And this is the rules. Their daughter's going to grow up following those rules.
chaperones and all that. That's where all that society came about. But
So-
I just find that we are drifting a little bit from in terms of the history and all that behind it, because however it started, it is where it is at this moment, and we have certain understandings of with regards to monogamy. It's a choice. We can all agree it's a choice to
It
be
is.
monogamous. I mean, some people naturally don't feel that way inclined. They might
Right.
have met the person that they want. They may have certain standards, whatever those standards are, whether the standards might be seen as primitive, it might be seen as acceptable or not acceptable. The point is, it's someone's choice. And again, it could be influences based on trauma. Things that have happened to you. There's a whole myriad of things that could result in how a person decides to be monogamous, whether they decide to be celibate, asexual, or polygamous.
Yeah.
And I try to look at it, as I've mentioned before in an episode, that person, if you find that mate that you can make a decision to be with and only be with that particular person, that person's a witness to your life. They add a lot more value than just bringing it down to sex. There's a lot more that comes in there, apart from the fact that, people use the term, or it's a condom-free environment, less stress, all of these different, which is debatable, the less stress part, right? But, because a lot of people that are polygamous, and the reason I say that, are only there in the peripheral state. They're there for one thing, which is the physical intimacy. And they're not taking on anything other than that with regards to bills or real life conversation, etc.
You think so? When you're saying the majority of people just there for wanting for polygamy. Now, being a hoe, right? And polygamy and polyamory is three different things, because polyamory and polygamy is a way of life and a philosophy.
Correct.
Versus I just want to go and down the place.
Correct.
If you understand what I'm saying.
So that's why I said promiscuity.
Right, so if people who seriously into polyamory, because I've met people like that and spoken with people, I even had it's not a couple, I had 3 people coming for couples counseling, right? We'll get that story in the next segment because we're going to the break just now. But it's a way of life. So if you want to use religion, like in terms of Islam, I know that before you even get a second wife, you have to be vetted to make sure you're financially prepared to even have a family.
Yeah.
Not just a,
As it
just
should
feel
be.
to have a
Because
next
in
wife.
Islam, they say you could have up to 4 wives, but if you fear for treating any of them equally, then have one.
Correct.
So even in that society where it is established or it is welcomed, there are still rules towards having that type of relationship.
Correct. And this is Manhood. We're talking about monogamy, and we're going to a break.
This is Mr. King, and you are looking at Manhood. And today we are discussing monogamy. So let me spice up the thing a little bit. Do you have any interesting stories that we could come up with? You know, Trinidad and Tobago love bacchanal.
Yeah, I can start with one.
Aye.
Remember somebody called and say, was he fee for couples counseling or wanted for couples counseling? So when they came in, it was 3 people came. It was a lady, her husband, and the outside man.
Outside man.
Outside man,
and the
okay.
outside man.
But that is not couples counseling. That is trouples counseling.
And she was like, Mr. Johan say, just make them behave, just make them behave. And she went and sit down in the corner, and both of them they saw. I was like, okay, there's a new
Interesting.
one. No, this is early in my career, and I remember. So I was like, I asked, so what is the disagreement? Now the thing is, the disagreement had nothing to do with the relationship. Well, the
Ask
arrangement.
obvious question. What is the disagreement? I mean, I'd have been like,
the disagreement really was they all ran a business together.
Right.
The 2 men had disagreement with the business. They already had their relationship. She used to spend 4 days with one and 3 days with the
Wild.
next one.
Very interesting.
Wild.
She had a child with each one, and all of them used to go to the parent-teacher meeting and things like that together. So they had their arrangement. And, well, I dealt with the issue with the conflict with the business. But I was curious, and I asked some questions, and they were honest, and they had their arrangement, and it wasn't even the men in competition to see who better thing. And it is, we all like each other. We like this woman, she like us, and one man say, well, to be honest, it's only 3 days that I could really take, right?
That's the outside man or that's the husband?
Yeah, the outside man said that it's only 3 days that she
But-
can really take,
okay.
and they all laughed about it within earshot of her, and then they were along their way. And that helped me understand that relationships really do have a format. Or should I say, the format for a relationship is really people being honest.
Hey, whatever makes you happy, whatever floats your boat.
Exactly.
correct, because you kept saying to be honest, and I know we always speak about truth, and the truth will set you free. And in a relationship or outside a relationship, if that's how you are and you recognize yourself, listen, I am not a one size fits all. I need to be able to go out there, and I remember a friend always asking another friend of mine in my presence, and it always stuck with me for some reason. He said, how many women do you have to sleep with before you realize you could get laid? And even though you were speaking to a friend of mine, it made me ask the question, how many of us actually who are out there, whether it be at college, whether it be generally, how many of us actually ask ourselves that? And does it come down to Johansson? I want to put this question really to you. Is it sometimes that we could say, is it that we're doing it because we are attracted to so many women, that we're looking for sexual satisfaction, our libido is so high? Or is it also rooted, and I mentioned it a bit earlier in the segment 1, is it also rooted in certain levels of insecurity, certain levels of trauma, that you have to keep going out there and you're looking for something to fill a void that you might even recognize is there?
Well, I would say the truth is all of the above. Human behavior is thought into feeling into action. And sex, or even seeking sex, is an action. And many men, all of us, seek sex for a different reason. Sometimes Monday, the reason you want sex, a Tuesday is a different reason. Some people, as you say, it could be trauma. Some people seeking connection, right? And because, let's say you go with one woman and you didn't get the connection that you was looking for, then you seek another and another and another. It could be you never had family. Some people didn't have a family, so I want as big a family as I could get. So I will go with 10 women and have 100 children because I just want family. You have some people who, as you're saying, well, I want to see maybe my self-esteem low, so I want to see how many women I could actually get. So that's
make
why,
me feel
that's
better.
why, to make me
To
feel
boost
better.
their
To
ego,
prove
yeah. To
something
boost their
to
ego.
yourself,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Or to your friends.
It could be also for me growing up. It was curiosity because it have one woman don't look like the next woman and the next woman. So some men are curious, right? And of course, all women don't look the same. So your curiosity sometimes may not be sated. So I saying it have many different reasons and understanding, and for the men that looking on, even understanding your own motivations in why you're seeking sex from a woman, why you're seeking sex from one woman or 10 women is important. And we're not judging whether you should be monogamous or not, but at least what we're discussing in this part is understanding the why. Why you want to do it.
I think that boils down to the individual investigating self. I think a lot of the things that we do out here, we do unconsciously, and you might go off on this reader, and you don't really try to get into self to say, well, why would I want to do that? Or what is triggering me to want to do this? You understand? A lot of the time it's ego. You have something to prove, maybe to the wider world, or even to prove to yourself. So you feel the need to want to do this, to want to. But I think as a people, as an individual, a lot of us refuse to go into self. And I think that's the solution to many problems, and that's the
Scary inside
answer
of
to
there, you know.
many questions.
When
Self.
you start to look inside people, it's scary inside of there.
Yeah, I must agree.
It's dark.
Agree. So a lot of people, based on circumstances or cultures or belief or trauma, may get into different circumstances. Like, for example, I have a partner. He have two ladies. Two of them living in the same house. He breed the both of them same time. Both of them in hospital to make child at the same time. This one make the baby today, and the next one who belly big, who going into labor, saying down holding the baby, petting that baby in preparation to go and make she baby, and one happy family, and they don't have a problem with that. So it all boils down again to the individual, what you could accept, what you could deal with, and how maybe the traumas put you in place to be able to deal with it, or the societal experiences put you in place to deal with it. But it all boils down to different cultures, and again, self, what you could deal with and what you think is right.
But is it guys, is it acceptance? Are you really genuinely happy with that particular circumstance, or are you apathetic towards it? Like you probably don't, you're not putting any kind of concern or care about that particular circumstance because you're probably focusing on something like the Gen Z. You know how we understand the whole thing with sex and partners and numbers and all these things don't really matter as much to this generation. It's more, what is my purpose? What am I going to leave as a legacy? That's more the focus. But does that take away from the fact that, is it really not bothering them? Is this really what they would have seen as their life, or they're just accepting of it and I'm okay to move on with it?
I think it's not bothering them personally. I think people make the decisions that they want to make, and it's usually the difficult decisions is usually opposite to what society. That's when the decisions become hard, when society decides this is not okay, right? But generally, people just want to do what they want to do. Like for me, for example, I want 10 kids. I know I don't want my wife to have all 10 of my children. I have bad eyesight, she have bad eyesight. All 10 of my children I have buying glasses for everybody. I'm not going through that jump up, right? So I already know that I want to go into a co-parenting situation with multiple different women, right? A lot of people tell me, Niall, never gonna happen. You'll never find that, blah, blah, blah. But I'm almost certain that I could find a woman who I could start a family with, and then I could talk to my wife, turn to her and say, hey, I would like more children. I need your assistance as my teammate to help me or help us find other women who are willing to co-parent with us. Yeah, notice I'm using the word us and not just me, right? For my goals and my motivation.
So there's a Kanye West, Kim Kardashian kind of scene there.
I would disagree, and this is my point. The reason why you say that is because society would dictate that, I know, boy, that boy told, man, that's not the normal order of things. I have never met a woman who is willing to do that, but in reality, they have them out there.
I have met women that are willing to do that.
Yeah?
Yeah, I have.
I will send my number on you.
I have met women willing to do that. There are women that they are very accepting women out there that willing to act. Some of them, maybe it may be a lack of self-esteem that they tell themselves, well, they're just willing to get into this situation because they may not get the ideal situation themselves. But again,
so is it that they accept, is like because they had nothing better, they accepting it as a
I think some of them that may be the issue, but then there are some of them again that good with that. They're cool with that. They do have a problem. Because as society, sometimes society puts so much pressure on you that you even decide to go into a monogamous relationship. And then halfway through it might be 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, 2 decades. And then you realize, well, look, this is not what I wanted to know. This is not for me.
Facts.
But society pressured you into this. So you tell yourself, this is what I needed to do. I need to be a Mrs. or I need to be a Mr. So. And then somewhere down the road, the stresses, you realize it ain't all that cut out to be. You understand? There may be a circumstance where you tell yourself you're up here and your spouse down here. So you tell yourself, well, no, I need to have somebody of this status because I have now gotten to this status. It's a lot of different circumstances could influence the choices.
So then what we're talking about here really and truly is that monogamy generally is dictated by society because we all have choices, right? As we described earlier. But are the choices fighting against natural order of things? Is it that men want to just jam down the place? I personally would say no.
I would say that, listen, if you find the right person, right, and that person's ticking off, all the boxes are being ticked, you generally find that people that really don't, they may window shop, but they're not going in the store, right? They're not purchasing anything. And there are genuine cases of that. Now, if you take that same person, that same individual, male or female, and put them in a different scenario where all the boxes are not being ticked, would they still be looking? I'm just saying more than likely. But you can also, that's in that particular circumstance, but there are people that genuinely don't believe in it based on upbringing, their own views, their own morals, on things that don't believe in the idea of cheating, being promiscuous, only saving themselves for one person, and they go along that path, and that's okay. That works for them.
Right, yeah.
And as long as you're happy with that, that's cool. But if you're not of that, and you're fighting within yourself that you have to conform to the norms, to what society is dictating has to happen, and you may even go down a road of then getting married, which is why you then find people cheating, eventually you probably can't take it anymore and you end up getting a divorce. All of these different things are happening because it's not right for you. And I'm saying it is not whether I'm looking at monogamy being right or wrong, it is what is right for you.
Well,
and being truthful to that.
Now, the thing is, you ask, or King asks about, is it society that dictates monogamy? Is you ask that?
Yeah, that was my goodly friend here.
Thinking about it now is that wondering if monogamy is natural, the thing is, my first answer, me personally, I don't know, because I don't know if we are allowed to be in our natural state. Because we always have some sort of pressure from your parents, from your religion, from your society, from your village, from the government, from your school, under some sort of pressure to conform to whatever it is your society you're in. So if you're in a society that promotes polygamy, then you're pressured to do that, because you might be a man. I don't need 2 women. I don't need 3 women. I just want 1. But they say no, something wrong with you. You can't handle 2. You can't handle 3, and then you end up doing it. Or another society where you say I want 2 or 3 women, but they say one to you, boy, you're running around, ting, and you end up being with 1. So I don't even know if we are allowed to even see what is our natural state of men, right? To see whether I want 2 or really want 1.
So I want us to discuss another level before we go to the break. The difference, because when you think about monogamy and polygamy and polyamory, you normally tend to think about that with regards to relationships, right? But what about the single person? What about serial dating, where you're single like now, and
Oh,
you,
you know Niall single.
I am.
he's says
Don't say that, and then next thing when you're done, your phone going over. How you gonna say that?
correct. Well, you don't ask him for numbers from you with regard
No, I'm
to
single, I'm
children,
single,
etc.
I'm single.
But he said that you just weren't paying attention, which is normal. I mean, it's okay, right? So if Niall is single and Niall decides, okay, I'm dating this girl today, tomorrow I'm dating this other girl, next day I'm dating this other girl, is that wrong? What's wrong in that? Because he's not being dishonest. He's not in a
That's
relationship.
serial monogamy. I was looking at the types that have something called serial
Yeah.
monogamy.
Serial
Because-
monogamy.
I feel like I'm falling into this category.
Yeah, because it's not to say you're looking for 10 women, but right now, I have, let's say I'm dating 10 women, but my aim is to find one.
Yeah, well, then you're shopping. Come like you're going to the car dealership. You drive a range today. You go buy Toyota. You see what Toyota have. You drive the Nissan. You say, nah, what's a little taller, you know?
And then
You're shopping around.
Ford or Honda or
But
Range
you're not,
Rover, right?
you're not
Of course.
driving all of them at the same time. So all of them are these, if you had the 4 car park up in your garage, that is polyamory, polygamy. But if you're driving around,
Well, you're
shopping around,
sampling
one
to
at
see
a
who,
time.
yeah,
That's
what fits
serial
your style.
monogamy.
So that
we have to go to a break, right? And the conversation again, we're going to be talking a bit more about it in the final segment where we're talking a bit more about, like I said, serial monogamy. But I want us to now look into this final segment, guys, as to the consequences of these actions. So what happens afterwards, like the levels of violence that we might see as a result of it, the rage that comes out of it. You have a song, the call. Some of these things is it always comes back down to that sex, that jealousy, that rage, women feeling scorned, all of these different things that comes down to that choice. Monogamy, polygamy, polyamory, serial monogamy, call all these different terms. And that's what we're looking at. We're taking a short break.
Come back to manhood. We're discussing masculinity, men, and monogamy. And there are some of the consequences of practicing monogamy, or the opposite, which is polyamory and polygamy. And one consequence immediately I could think of is poor family structure. Because if you're a man who's going around with many women and having children, and you're not taking care of the children, we all know the consequence. I mean, I don't even have to go into it. Me as a counselor, I have seen many families, many single parents who come in with their children, some male boys and girls who don't know their fathers, who want to know their fathers, and as a result of a man who just went around and was spreading his seeds. So we know some of these societal ills when it comes in terms of that. And one that I would say is in terms of managing more than one relationship. On twofold, you may be giving each person half, 50% to yourself, 60% to yourself, 40% to another person, which may not be fair, but also for you, right? As a man, I mean, there are times in my life where I had more than one woman, and it's a tiring thing, because at that time I believed I really loved both of those women. I wanted to give them all of me,
and I think that is very much possible, huh?
right?
One man could love more than one woman.
Yes.
But to be honest, all of me was difficult to give to 2 women, because I can't give 100% of myself to 2 people, because it is a lot. And if I really wanted to spend enough time and give them everything, then it was too much for me as one. And that's what made me realize that men who want to have more than one woman in a serious relationship, it takes a lot.
But let me ask you a question. Do you think if finances, wealthy, if you were in a position to be well off and to be able to treat the both of them the way you wanted to treat them, do you think this could have become an ideal situation for you?
Nah, it was not a financial thing, It was not about money. It was about my time and emotional energy to give them. I didn't have enough to give them the way they would have wanted it.
So this is a real rich conversation, and we're focusing specifically on monogamy, right? But I want to take it to the other level. So if the circumstances were right, so people be like, hey, I could have 3 women, right? But what happens when the fun stops? So you're in a relationship. Let me paint a picture. You're in a relationship. Or you're not in a relationship. You're serial monogamous, and you're enjoying yourself. And we're not even going down the road of diseases. I'm talking about what happens in the societal impact of your actions. So say, for example, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. A woman finds out that you've cheated on her. The betrayal, the trauma that woman may experience, the violence that may take place, whether in retribution to your act, to yourself, to maybe to the woman, or to a guy, all of these different circumstances that we see happening. So the crimes of passion, I think they call it, right? That's what I want us to talk a bit more about, because it's one thing while you're doing it, it's fun. There's a positive side to it, but there's also the negative, the repercussions for your actions.
Well, I, as an individual, have been cheated on more than once. From a tender age, I have experienced it, and we have to agree as men, it's not a feeling that anybody wants to go through. And I think at that point in time, you have to be so strong within your mind to not act out. I think the strongest thing you could do is smile and walk away. I think that is the most powerful thing a man could do. Smile and walk away, because the easiest thing for you to do is to lash out, to try to vindicate your heart, because your heart squeezing at that point in time, your heart crushing. I think as men, it's hard for us to learn that, but that's something that nobody can really teach you. But you have to be strong within yourself to face that. You understand?
So I would enter them women stronger than men then, if that's the case.
No, it have a lot of bad woman will key up your car, puncture your tire, try to kill you.
Overall, I see women take bun way better and more often.
No, I think a lot of them take it because they are not as strong. They can't rush into the men and beat them, or a man will rush into a woman and try to beat you up and capsize you.
I'd hardly disagree with that.
I know. I honestly believe that has a lot to do with it.
Women have more options than men in terms of
They do. Sometimes they don't want the options, and sometimes they're so invested. Sometimes they're so invested in this relationship, they were probably so faithful and loyal in this relationship that they can begin to fathom how this man could do me that too. Just like how a man wouldn't be able to fathom, well, I tried my best to make this woman happy, and look at what she's doing. So I think it goes both ways. Okay. But then a man with the masculinity and the ego and the strength is 99% of the time able to overpower a woman, or to make his presence felt, or he might be able to grab onto she and strangle she, whereas a woman may not be able to do that. So I think a lot of them just have to whimper in the corner and cry it out.
Maybe not true strength, but she's cooking meals. She's watching sleep. Right. Women have their ways. Women have their ways again.
Just careful, take care, get charged for see the shun here, nobody.
We talk about the acts of retribution and retaliatory
which
methods,
are some of the consequences.
Which are some of the consequences. But it's a men's show, right? And I want us to what goes on. We could only speak what goes on in our heads. We can assume what is happening in women's heads and how they feel, but we don't have the anatomy to be an expert on that. What we have is an expert on what we as men go through in circumstances. And like you, I have been cheated on, and it is not a nice feeling. It is a gut punching feeling in your heart. It's horrible, right? It's one of the worst things.
I'm telling you.
And that's for two reasons. One, your heart, because you love the person, and two, in certain circumstances, it's your ego. It's like, oh, that could happen to me, right? And then you start to also think, as men, you start to think of what that person do better than you.
Yeah, that's what you ask the questions.
And that
you call that the echo from the horn. And the horn goes the echo in your head.
Terrible.
Yeah, you start to forget the echo. Anytime you go to study the echo, boy, you can hang in a tree or drunk in a CS.
I want to talk a bit more about that thing, because the echo from the horn is your put it.
Wow.
I love it. It's a real thing. And people need to address that. You see, like you said, if in a utopian environment, we would smile and walk away and say, hey, will it happen? Let me just move on. Her loss, or however you want to put it. Because sometimes you get a horn, but you must put about 6 yourself. Yeah. You understand? And you never thought it would happen to you. So people have to be very honest with themselves when it comes to that. But it still doesn't make a difference with regards to that. And I know I like my sayings when I say certain things, right? But it brings about a lot of things because sometimes, you know, there's a old saying, you know, your daddy ain't your daddy, but your daddy don't know.
Oh
Yeah,
gosh,
you
child resemble the snow cone man.
and you go down this whole road of, wait now, you start to realize now, apart from the horn, that child isn't yours and all of these other things happen. And it results in violence. It results in certain behaviors. And
Well, I think, and that's why some people, when they choose monogamy and then they be cheated on, right? Then they get upset because, you know, I listen to society, I listen to religion, I listen to wherever it is, and I choose this one woman. I want to be this one woman. I could have been with two. I could have do things, but I decide to stay with this one woman, and then she teaches me, oh, the child look like the snow cone man, right? Then of course that will bring up a different kind of rage, you know, because it will bring up rage, it will bring up regret, it will bring up, you know, self-betrayal, because you know that's not what you wanted, but you do it. And then
or if you made the actual choice to say, listen, I'm going to be a one-woman man.
Right.
Because if you felt you only want to be with one woman, and that's a bit different, you'll still feel betrayed. But if you decide, hey, I give up on Cathy, or I give up on Sarah, or whoever the person is, and I decided not to go down that road in our party and come and be with you, and then you turn around and I get what?
Boy, that is the most heart-wrenching thing you could face in your life, you know what I'm telling you? And sometimes because of this decision you make and say, well, look, I neglect all else for this woman, you know. I want to be with this woman alone. You may make that decision as a man. And then you come and end up in this circumstance. If you're not strong within yourself, you could even decide, well, it's never me again. I will never belong to no one woman again. Jean, Dinah, and the cousin, the aunt, the auntie, everybody. Get in it.
Clementina.
Cut and clear, the back home moving. You understand? Or you could still say within yourself, hey, this happened. These are circumstances I couldn't control. But like in my example, I tell you, I've been through it several times. And I still decide within myself that my ultimate or the situation for me is I would like to have that one person that I could share life with, that we could still be together. And I will still neglect all else for somebody else in the future. You understand? Because I believe in
I'll give you the box.
I believe in that family life. I've lived family life for many years. And for me, I believe that's the way to go.
You clean slate every time.
Yeah, I clean slate again. I clean slate every time. I've clean slate more than twice in my life already. You know, and I still believe that I could share my life with that one person. There's that person out there for me that I could be for them. No competition. We all come together. We form a unit and we face life and we make it happen. For me, that's the ultimate situation. I mean, I could be hot like hot dog too. I mean, I will watch a big boomsy rolling. So I might watch a nice Douglas. So I might say, hey, this thing looking real good. This is natural for men. And I believe it's natural for women as well, because a woman go ask she man and she goes still, strong man looking good. You understand? But for me, I still, even though it may have happened to me in the past, I still believe that the way for me to go. And again, as we started the conversation, I believe it boils down to the individual choice and circumstance.
You see that word choice? It's a huge one. And I myself, again, you know, during these conversations, you learn. And you realize everything is choice. You know, how you react is a choice. You know, your own emotions. We talk about this all the time. You being angry, or you choosing to be enraged or cry or whatever the case may be, you are making that choice. Nobody's making you behave like in that way. And that choice to be monogamous is a as you said, big man thing. And,
big man thing.
And how many of us actually can be men to really do to say, hey, you know what, I can make any choice, whether that person does certain things or not. I am not going to be that person. You could be cheating down the place. I am not going to do that. Whether you decide to stay in a relationship is a whole other story. But I think that it certainly is the one of the traits of a real man is doing that. Can I say that is being able to make that strong choice and make a decision, because it's also out of respect. Have I always been that in my life? No. I've been in that context, I would say that's a little boy thing, where you're still going through periods of, am I attractive enough? insecurity, certain levels of trauma, looking for something to fill that void, apart from the fact that, hey, I'm curious, like, an Asian or a white person or a black person or a Douglas. You see in different women. Women are attractive, especially in Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, we have some of the most beautiful women
Of course.
in the world. So it's hard. And then a carnival pass or a party, it is kryptonite. But that restraint and being able to say, I see you, but no.
I just watch too. I always watch it as a matter of fact, and I think the more you show it off, is the less attractive it has been to me. I always believe any product that you have to advertise too much ain't good. Because when the product really good, you don't need to advertise it. The people, it has been high demand. When the product is too good, or when the product is great, you don't even need to advertise it. Without a single ad, they're going to come and purchase it. You understand? Once you have to advertise it too much, once you have to show it off, once you feel it need to be in out there for everybody to see, something wrong with that product. That is my thinking.
The insecurity there that you still don't realize how good that is. You still need you need that constant reassurance for somebody to tell me, hey, look how I'm looking.
No, that's validation. That's validation.
That's validation you need. But King, before we wrap, because we have to go to closing thoughts just now, I want to use the opportunity to talk about two things that, that might be a little away from the topic of monogamy here today. But one, just somebody thinking behind such a powerful song in the call and what you feel is being achieved since that song has come out, and also for you to give us your understanding of what is a real man.
Let me start from the latter. I would say a real man is one that is able to go into self. And I think that is one of the most powerful things we can do as a human being, to go into self, to realize purpose. You understand? I think, and reject ego. Ego destroys nations. A lot of what is going on in the society today is because of ego. Because people trying to take hold of things and twist things that they have no control over. And this, if you don't understand it or manage it, it causes you to be angry. It causes you to lash out. It causes you to want to do things that society will not accept. And in the end of the day, you'll only be harming yourself. You understand? You would only be harming yourself. The purpose behind the call for me was the call was really a project to spark conversation, right? Come together and say, well, this is the sentiment of the country. We are prominent figures. We are the reggae artists. We support conscious music. Let's make a statement. Let's start conversations. Let's hope we could get corporate Trinidad involved now in solutions. Because at this point where the country is at, I think we could no longer play the blame game. But she didn't bound to make all them churn. She could have closed she leg, or the send he to school. He should have learned. We passed that stage right now. We're in crisis, and we need to spark conversations that could ensue in change and solutions for change. I think there's a vast disconnect between the people that could actually make changes and the ground. I think we need to look closer at the ground in order to come up with real solutions. So the call was really to initiate these conversations. I mean, the call has been somewhat dormant after a little while after I dropped, but believe me, behind the scenes, we are working on some campaigns to enable these things, to start these conversations. Call like with monogamy, it's a choice. Violence, gang life, badness is also a choice. So then we need to start to instill or set the narrative that would let the youths know, well, hey, here what is going on. If you choose this road, this is what is going to happen. You understand? We need to start to set these narratives from young. We need to implant it into their brain. So we need to find ways to do that. So that was what the call was really about, to initiate or spark this fire.
So let's use this opportunity to start part of that narrative and to start part of that campaign. If you could speak directly in that camera and give us your closing thoughts to the nation.
In terms of monogamy, men and monogamy.
All right. Men and monogamy, the topic at hand. Men, you might be hotter than hot dog. You want to spread your seeds. You want to sprinkle it here and there. But I think as human beings, we all have a purpose. And in society today, with how society is going, I think sometimes we need to put society before self or purpose before ego. So as much as you may want to sprinkle it here and there, think about what is happening in this society. Think about the future. Think about you having these children all over the place and you not being there for some unforeseen reason. Perhaps you get bounced down, you end up with a sickness, you end up with 1 foot, you can't work. What is going to happen with these children? So I think we need to be more responsible as men when it comes to sprinkling the seeds, when it comes to being here and being there. And just as you may not want somebody that you are in a relationship with to give you that level of hurt, to be horning, or to, you understand what I'm saying? I think we as a human being should not try to place this on someone else as well. This is just my thoughts. People have different issues. They might look at it differently based on their circumstances, but these are just my thoughts. My words to the nation are: men, I know we go big, I know we hotter than hot dog, but sometimes we have to put purpose first. You have to go within self and find what is your purpose and try to justify a better standard of living. That's just my thoughts.
Who want to follow that?
I will follow. But that was wonderful, by the way. That was like real strong. My thoughts on it would be, everything is about sex except sex. Sex is about power, and power dictates the relationship that you're in. And sometimes, as a man, you have to make decisions that you have to know that society isn't dictating your thoughts, or so the reason why you want to be in this relationship, is it because your family that's around you or the wider audience around you wants you in this relationship? If that's the case, then you're in that relationship for the wrong reasons, and then the problems that come out of it after that, that's the result of that one error that you're making. So think about the reason why you're in a relationship, and it's okay to have other styles of relationships. Everything does not need to be as dry and clear cut as society dictated it for you to be.
Men, whatever is your decision in terms of monogamy, polygamy, polyamory, ensure to do it and understand that this is your choice. It's not that if anybody forcing you to do it, or you're not doing it because you want to please someone else. Also ensure you do it within truth, so that all parties involved, including yourself, you're honest with yourself and you're honest with everybody involved, whether it is one woman or five women.
So I have to follow 3 powerful gentlemen there, and 3 powerful endings. And again, I'd like to thank all of you certainly for being here and the enlightenment here again today. My message is going to be simple: do unto others. You have a choice. There's part of that choice is the fact that you could be a jack of all trades and master of none. But if you stick with that one person, you could be pretty great. That person could be a witness to your life, and you could be a witness to their life, and you can build some really powerful things instead of spreading yourself thin. Be that concentration of effort and be that person that you want to be. What does it take a real man to be monogamous? I would think at the closing of this show, yes, because it's not just whether or not you want to be with another woman, but the fact that you make a choice not to be, and to be a better person. So do unto others, choice. There's always a consequence to any action. Be prepared for that action, and make the right choice. Be the right choice, make the right choice. So this was Manhood. Again, men and monogamy. Thank you, Johanse, for always being here. King, for gracing us. Continue
Pleasure
to do
was
your
well
thing.
mine. The pleasure was well mine.
Really insightful stuff. Echo
From the horn.
That's wild, bro.
Echo of the horn. So that is
I love
something
it.
that is a whole other topic that
real.
we have to explore here on Manhood. We're nearing the end of season 3, so continue to stay with us. Niall, thanks for the insight again. This has been Manhood.
Manhood, brought to you in part by Reboot Sports Drink. Manhood, brought to you in part by Solomon's Bespoke.